let's take a look at the dollar. So now you can see the dollar soared, right? As you would expect. You would expect the dollar to soar. It's like, well, gosh, why is that? Well, it's safe haven, right? Safe haven. So you know people are going to pile into the dollar. If you don't understand that, then you've been listening to these freaking con men. The dollar's going to collapse, right? Remember, I've already clarified all this stuff. Can you imagine how many people even know this in the world? Not a lot of people. I mean, you still have people out there that think hyperinflation is possible in America. It's a joke. That's one of the ways America controls the world. I've talked about all that. Any type of crisis, folks, everyone's going to rush into the dollar, okay? And you can imagine, given the potential implications with Russia invading Ukraine, what else is a good trade in currencies besides shorting the ruble? What else? What else? Now I'm going over this now because the situation is obviously not over, and most likely you're going to have these similar setups in the near to intermediate term future, okay? Because as you can see, the trade's over. These are quick trades, right? Well, the next trade you'd want to look at, so when you see the dollar, when you want to go long the dollar, this is the dollar index, okay? You want to go long the dollar, and especially you want to go long the dollar euro. The euro is going to collapse, right? Big time. The ruble is going to collapse. So you want to take a long position in the dollar ruble. But you'll notice it didn't last long. This is a 5-day, okay? So it took off on the 24th. That was the announcement, right? And take a look. It was already starting to sell off, right? So you can't get too caught up into this stuff. You can't get too caught up and think it's the end of the world and your trade's going to the moon, okay? Because you're talking about huge gains here. These are huge short-term gains. You're talking about people that have leveraged accounts. This is enormous gains. So when you see that trade bust out, get out. Boom, get out. There's too much is going on. You don't know what's impacting that trade. So you can see now it's already selling off as of late. So why is it selling off as of late? I think it's selling off. And by the way, nobody knows, right? So you have to watch the charts. You have to follow the charts closely and don't worry about what you hear. That's all bullshit. The bottom line is the charts tell the story. Okay? I don't care what they say in the media. The charts tell the story in terms of what investors, what traders are thinking. That's all you care about, right? That's all you care about. That's why don't get caught up too much in what the news is saying. What traders are saying here is risk is decreasing, right? It's not as big of a risk now. Why? I think it's because Biden is a softie. He's a softie boy. And he didn't go in and hit hard like you should have. They should have. I mean, what the hell is going on? They don't even sanction Putin. Like sanctioning Putin's a big deal anyway. Like what the hell? I mean, what a pussy. You go in, you sanction all these SOBs, and you shut down the SWIFT. You start out serious in the beginning. Don't let Putin with his bullshit threats. You see? I think the markets interpreted that the same way. That's what I think. And that's why I think, the dollar sold off. So bottom line, what I'm saying is that, if you're trading this stuff, you should be focused on these currencies. These are the easy trades, but you got to be quick. Okay. You got to be quick, and don't think that the dollar can't pop again, because it can, and it most likely will. And, so if you take a look at the dollar euro, middle of February, if this thing comes down around here, I mean, I think you have to be prepared to take a long position, wait for some type of a catalyst, because I can't believe that, things are going to calm down anytime soon. Let's take a look at the ruble. Similar situation. You can see, look at that big pop. Dollar versus the ruble, right? So if you take a look at the ruble, you're going to see an opposite chart, right? So it's selling off again. But, one thing, of course, is if, you certainly want to be following it closely because you want to hear when the announcement is when they shut off the SWIFT system, which they probably will. And that's obviously going to be a big trade, right? That's you're probably not going to have a chance to jump in there. You might want to take a position because you're probably not going to have a chance. You got everybody in front of you, greater access to the news. And once that's announced, boom. Wheat, I mentioned that earlier. Of course, Russia's a big wheat exporter. And this is a 5-day chart. So let's go ahead and take I think we were waiting for a move off the 770. That was from the February research, right? So you can see the February 4th. So here we are. I mean, forget the Russia situation. If you're following the research, right? This is 763, and this is 7 up to a high of 775. It's not a clear breakout yet, though, right? It's not clear. And this breaks out a little higher, 780. It's questionable. I would say probably not confirmed, just because you've got this intraday low, right? This is a kind of somewhat of a mild bearish sign. So I would say, to be safe, this is still not a confirmed breakout, but this is, okay? This is. See that? Next day starts up slightly higher. Boom, breakout. Don't be scared by this, because you also have this intraday pop. That's somewhat bullish. Next day you can see, and of course by this time you're already starting to hear some things about Russia, Ukraine, right? And so if you're in this trade, look at that. You don't need to, if you're putting stops in, then you can put them down here. You're okay. Didn't really go down much, right? And in fact, you probably shouldn't have put stops in if you understand what's going on. I mean, Russia's a big wheat exporter, and take a look. Boom. And you see, look at this. I mean, if you don't act quick, look at that. Most of the profits are gone. You see? So don't get too greedy, right? Now, I'll tell you, chances are this rally's not over. The question is, when's it going to start again, right? That's going to depend upon the future developments in terms of Russia, right? What happens there? I'm willing to bet that this high is not over. But of course, that's assuming we're going to have a lot more activity. But nonetheless, the problem is that this whole issue potentially is a big problem for the European economy. Europe could be pushed into a recession down the road, not just because of this event, but of course they've been facing, high energy prices, and they have other issues as well. So you want to watch wheat, and then of course crude oil, WTI, and Brent. Take a look at Brent. This is the 4th here. The close here. Okay, so we talked about putting stops in, right? So where you put your stops in, I don't know. Just depends upon, how you wanted to handle the trade, right? But the fact is that obviously we're bullish, and the stops would have only been to protect against a retracement, which a retracement could be substantial, right? Without a doubt. It wasn't substantial, and it was above this kind of trending price here. Let's get a 3-month chart and just take a look at the 3-month chart. It's very bullish. So if you were stopped out, then, I think that you might have jumped in here, or for sure you're jumping in here by here, a new high, right? And at this point, if you're jumping in here, then, I think it's safe to say that you don't want to be dealing with stops. right now. Why? Well, because we already had our retracement here, and there's more news about the Russia-Ukraine situation. So you can see we had a big pop, almost, well, just about $106. Didn't last. I mean, you're talking about astronomical gains, okay? This is enormous gains. So you take your profits, okay? When you see weakness, take your profits. This is a 5-day chart, so you can see the 24th. So 23rd, boom. 24th, topping out, little weakness here. I'd say buy here for sure. For sure. I mean, if you want to try and milk it, you're waiting until you get here. If you're being more proactive selling, you're probably starting to sell once you got like this third red on the way down, right? But if you're more greedy, you might want to wait till here, and then you figure it's a downtrend most likely, right? And so you can see now it's back down, right? It went all the way back down to around 22nd. So will it pop again? Chances are pretty high. The question is timing. You don't want to get in too soon. It may retrace down another $2, $3. That's why you got to really watch the news. And I'm not saying TV per se. You want to take a look at the feeds, right? For sure. And you certainly want to watch the charts, because the charts are going to be your best indicator. When you see a big move, there you go, boom. Similar situation for WTI. So this is a 1-month chart. So, if you got stopped out somewhere around here, then you should have gotten back in. I don't know where exactly. Just let's take a look at the 5-day chart. We can just go back and see, give us a better feel for what we're looking at on a daily basis, right? And even this is what, every 30 minutes, you see, which is not that indicative, but nonetheless. So here's where we close on the 4th, right? Got your stops in. So, and also, depending upon whether you're putting trailing stops, you might put trailing stops, but if you're here at 89, almost 90, it didn't quite hit 89. So, I don't know. The bottom line, you can assume if you got stopped out here, there's no reason really to get in. Why? Well, look at this. It's kind of a lower low, no indication it's going to break out. And you can see, right, it's holding this support, but it hasn't broken out. And then you get a breakdown here. Maybe you were stopped out here, or maybe like here. If you get amazing gains, take them, and re-enter a trade. Back up, get on the sidelines, and wait to re-enter. This is not a bad time to get back in, but I'd want to see some type of catalyst. I think we are going to at least come close to testing those highs. And you never know. A month from now, we could be at 120. You just don't know, right? You don't know. And then, of course, natural gas. And look at this move, Jesus, right? Pretty amazing. So this is a month chart. This is the 4th. I don't even know what. So it looks like it's bottoming here. Nice little rally. Not tremendous, but pretty good. But then you see a retracement. And then what do you see? Oh, another high. Oh, a higher low. I'm in. Okay, when this thing starts, boom, I'm in here. Because you're getting this trend, this upward trend, you see? You can see it breaks out here. And it hasn't broken out past here yet, but if you're a wussy, you would have waited and gotten in around here, okay? But you still made out pretty nice if you held it, right? And in the meantime, Russia, Ukraine is building, right? Boom, 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 boom. You can see monster trade. So when did you get out? Well, I see this, boom. If I'm not getting out here, okay, if I don't get out here, I probably missed it. I probably should have gotten out somewhere here. If If I didn't, and I see this rally start to go red, I'm out. I'm out. Why? Because it's not going to make this high. Get out. And you can see what happened most recently. Massive intraday sell-off. I mean, you're talking, this is massive. You know, stops were all triggered, right? People that were shorting this buy stops, boom. And so, but you see though, it sold all the way down and it closed up. So let's take a look at the monthly chart, see where we are. 3-month chart. Look at that. So where are we? I'd say gas is more difficult to trade right now than oil. And it looks like it's definitely more shorter term trading. And, you know, sometimes it's best to wait on the sideline for a higher risk situation, even though, you know, I think it's going to go higher, but you want to get that timing right, because especially you're dealing with futures and leverage and stuff like that. I mean, you got to be careful. Obviously, people rush into gold, right? It's a short-term place to park the cash. It's not long-term, it's short-term. As the rumors, the talk of Russia, Ukraine, more, and then finally on the 24th, as everything peaked out, you can see gold. Let's take a look at a one-day chart. 1975, 76 or so, right? And it sold off all the way down to 1884, and it's rallied a little bit. 5-day chart. So you can see it's back down. So what you want to look for to see gold rally again would be something kind of a little bit unforeseen, right? And to understand that, of course, you have to understand what everyone's expecting. So the attack by Russia on Ukraine, I think there were people out there saying it wasn't going to happen. Putin was just bluffing, which, you know, I didn't conclude either way, because I don't think there was any way you could conclude with credibility. You just had to kind of keep that on alert. And then once the attack occurred, I think some people were surprised. A lot of people were surprised. And so we want to wait for some type of an unforeseen escalation, I think, to see gold pop. But once again, it's short term. Okay, it's short term. It's popping when you're seeing these currency moves. You see, so it's just a short term place to park money. But when you see the currencies move again, you know, they go back, they sell off after rallying. You can see people are selling gold. That's why. Okay, keep that in mind.
There are two fundamental reforms that we need is to get adequate capital, and two, to get far higher levels of enforcement of fraud statutes. Existing ones, I'm not even talking about new. Things were being done which were certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which, I mean, fraud is a fact. Fraud creates very considerable instability in competitive markets. If you cannot trust your counterparties, it won't work. And indeed, we saw that it didn't.
So things went very well, and then the economy collapses, and so all of a sudden people are saying, well, it was Alan Greenspan's fault because he should have anticipated this. Did you think that was fair?
Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. One of the things I put in the second book I wrote was how the IMF missed it, the Federal Reserve missed it. You go down a whole series of the major forecasting.
Well, everybody got it wrong, let's say.
You can't have a crisis of that nature that is not a surprise. Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. One of the things I put in the second book I wrote was how the IMF missed it, the Federal Reserve missed it. You go down a whole series of the major forecasting.
Well, everybody got it wrong, let's say.
You can't have a crisis of that nature that is not a surprise. Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. There are two fundamental reforms that we need to get adequate capital and two, to get far higher levels of enforcement of fraud statutes. Existing ones, I'm not even talking about new. Things were being done which were certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which, I mean, fraud is a fact. Fraud creates very considerable instability in competitive markets. If you cannot trust your counterparties, it won't work. And indeed, we saw that it didn't. Certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which, I mean, fraud is a fact. Fraud creates very considerable instability in competitive markets. If you cannot trust your counterparties, it won't work. And indeed, we saw that it didn't. Certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which, I mean, fraud is a fact. Fraud creates very considerable instability in competitive markets. If you cannot trust your counterparties, it won't work. And indeed, we saw that it didn't. There are two fundamental reforms that we need to get adequate capital and two, to get far higher levels of enforcement of fraud statutes. Existing ones, I'm not even talking about new. Things were being done which were certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which, I mean, fraud is a fact. Fraud creates very considerable instability in competitive markets. If you cannot trust your counterparties, it won't work. And indeed, we saw that it didn't. Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. Things were being done which were certainly illegal and clearly criminal in certain cases, which nobody forecast the 2008 crisis. 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 Nobody forecast the 2008 crisis.
In terms of getting back as an investor, if it's coming down to here, almost irrespective of what's going on, I have to believe, if I have to make a call in advance, and of course I can change depending on what happens, but I have to believe this is where you want to start doing that 18, 17, around there. Their earnings report is a complete game changer, at least for quite a while. Bottom line, NVIDIA now is going to enter the realm of Tesla, Apple, and all these other big,
I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works. I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works.
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser. 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 And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.
Their earnings report is a complete game changer, at least for quite a while. Bottom line, NVIDIA now is going to enter the realm of Tesla, Apple, and all these other big,
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser. And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.
I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works. I mean, listen, NVIDIA can come down to 150, come down to $100. If you don't think it's possible, then you don't understand how the market works.
And we're short NVIDIA, it's a loser.